I feel like So comfortable with you. I feel like I'll always love you.
The Blue Jays may have a Jose Berrios problem. The NFL continues to push towards the start of the season, and the UFC's middleweights definitely have a Khamzat Chimaev problem. Plus, some WWE and AEW. It is going to be a busy show, so let's get to it. Couch Potato Diary Live is back on a Monday, and it starts now. Welcome everyone to Couch Potato Diary. Happy Monday. My name is Peter Klein. Thank you very much for hanging out today. Like I said before, a lot to get to on this show. Blue Jays, NFL, some CFL. We got some UFC to break down, WWE, AEW, even some AAA thrown in there as well. You can kind of see the replica belt back there with that. So a lot coming up for podcast listeners. This is probably going to be two parts. I'm just going to put that out there right now. And all of the parts of Couch Potato Diary are presented by Sea of Dead. Check out seaofdead403.ca. We got the great Calgary swag for you and a big announcement coming up very, very soon. So head over to seaofdead403.ca because you're not going to want to miss out on that. Hopefully you had enough energy throughout the weekend, but if you don't and you need some more, head over to swiftenergy.gg. Use the code PKPrimetime for 25% off. We are streaming live on a few different platforms today, so wherever you are tuning in, thank you so much for hanging out, or if you're watching after the fact, greatly appreciate y'all as well. And if you're listening after the fact, just know you can catch these early when we go live on multiple different platforms. The links are all in the show notes. So let's dive right in and get to the world of Major League Baseball, and specifically the Toronto Blue Jays. Jose Berrios is starting to become a problem. It was another tough outing for the Blue Jays starter against the Texas Rangers, which has me wondering, could he miss the playoffs altogether? Let's figure out what the Blue Jays can do with their struggling former ace as we get the show rolling today. Oh, the theme just makes me so happy. But wasn't happy yesterday as Jose Berrios got thumped again as the Blue Jays fell to the Texas Rangers. And I know what you're saying. Again, he pitched basically a shutout against the Chicago Cubs a couple of, the start before this one. And yes, absolutely, accurate, 100%. Still had to grind through that one, though, and it has been too much of the grinding through it for Jose Berrios lately. Looking at the numbers here, since June 15th, Berrios 12 starts, he's 7-3. Okay, we will take that. 63 and 2/3 innings. All right, we're doing the math on that. We're basically right at 5 innings. It's not fantastic, but okay, that's fine. 17 walks, fine. 50 strikeouts, all right. 4.81 ERA and 11 home runs. And if you look at FIP, it's not like this guy's getting unlucky. And if you look at batting average on balls in play, it's not like this guy's getting unlucky. There isn't a whole lot that you can really hang your hat on with Berrios right now and say, no, it's fine. This will turn around. That is since June 15th, so 2 months now of someone pitching basically at 5 runs a game. That is not. And Toxic, bringing it up in the Twitch chat, his velocity is down, and that's a concern as well. Yesterday, he gives up 6 runs on 10 hits, 2 bombs. Admittedly, one of them just kind of kept going and left. But I mean, that is what home runs do. And just a pair of strikeouts. He hasn't pitched 6 innings in his last 4 starts. And even that game against the Cubs that I talked about, where, yeah, he pitches, I think it was 5 1/3 shutout innings. It was still a battle. He had like 49 pitches in one of the innings in that game. Like he has had to battle through not having his A stuff for a little bit. And now we are at a point now, the Blue Jays entering a really fun matchup against Paul Skeens tonight with a 5-game lead for top spot in the American League East over the Boston Red Sox, and all of a sudden now just 5.5 over the New York Yankees after their sweep over the weekend. But we are looking now at getting this rotation ready for the playoffs, and I think we are at a point now, given again it's been 2 months, I think we are at a point now where we have to start asking, should Jose Berrios make the roster for the postseason? Like, that seems just unfathomable to me that we would be having this conversation. Like, you think back beginning of the year, like, hey, this team's gonna be in first place, and we're gonna be talking about Jose Berrios not making the roster. That I wouldn't have believed any parts of that, to be perfectly honest with you, at the beginning of the year. And it's frustrating because when he is at his best, this guy has ace stuff. We've seen it. We just haven't seen it this season. And we certainly haven't seen it this season consistently enough to rely on it when it comes down to postseason time. Like, it has been too inconsistent. It has been too all over the place. And it's like, the walks, I guess they haven't been there as much as I thought they would, but it still feels like it's a lot of deep counts and a lot of grinded out at bats and not being able to put guys away and all of those frustrations that you would have. And then when the stuff isn't exactly perfect where it needs to be, it's getting hit hard. And it's getting hit quite a bit. So, again, just more and more concerns about what you would do with him. And honestly, even if you were to pitch in a playoff game for the Blue Jays, I don't, if he's starting, and we'll get to the other part of that in a second, but if he's starting, I don't think you're trusting him 3 times through the order, right? So you are at most getting 18 batters out of this guy. And if he's perfect at that, that means he's getting him to the 6th. And odds are that is probably, 18 batters, like 4 innings? 5 max. That's not what you are looking for out of a starting pitcher right now. So I don't think when you look at it, and we'll go over what the postseason rotation could look like in a second, but this is someone who is going to be, if you are putting him in there, I mean, every playoff game is huge, but this is someone who could be starting in like elimination games based on how the rotation may play out. So I don't know if I would trust this guy with my season on the line at this point. He can have electric stuff. Toxic pointing out the velocity is coming down. I don't hate the idea of bringing Berrios out of the bullpen when it comes down to the postseason. I think if you just let him go out there, grip it and rip it for an inning, 2 innings, and have him be bordering on a leverage type of a guy, I think that all of a sudden that velo comes back up and all of a sudden things have a little bit more life to them, and it just gives him a bit more of a dynamic feel and gives the bullpen a little bit more of a dynamic feel as well. Toxic asking as the closer, I don't think I would bring him in for that particular role necessarily. I think you kind of keep it with Hoffman as the 9th inning guy. Varland, I know it got rough yesterday for Varland. That game was kind of out of hand, so I don't think he had the same edge he would if he was coming in a playoff game. So I think you can still have Varland, Dominguez as kind of leverage guys, and Berrios would be a bit more 7th inning for me. And honestly, 6th and 7th inning. You know, like let's say you have Gausman goes 5. And lights out, but it's a 1-run ball game. I know you were joking, but still, this was something I was going to bring up anyway. So, the idea of putting him in the bullpen, let's say Gausman goes 5 really strong innings. It's a 1-run ball game. You bring Berrios in for the 6th and the 7th. You have Varland and Dominguez that you can kind of play with for the 8th, and you have Hoffman excuse me, for the 9th inning. So, like, I don't hate how that plays out. Now, it's very righty heavy. You have to throw a lefty in there, and I wish the Blue Jays would have got one more leverage lefty that you would feel fantastic about. But I think I like that one. So if you look at what the playoff rotation would be, as it sits right now, Gausman would be the game 1 starter. We talked about it early in the week. Basically, every start he has against high-level, big teams, big moment games, he shows up in a big-time way. So he has, I think, earned that spot as your number 1. You are hoping that Bieber is effective enough that he can be a number 2. And then, honestly, Scherzer, the way he has pitched and the experience that he has, I have him as your Game 3 starter right now. There were times in the past that you could have just 3 guys, and you would have Gausman go 1-4-7 and roll with it that way. He's old school enough that maybe you could. Teams don't tend to do that anymore, so you would probably need a 4th starter in this particular situation. And right now, I think it's an open competition. Honestly, the one who's pitching the best for that spot is Eric Lauer. That's asking a lot, because again, we're talking about game 4 in the division round, if they get there, but in the division round, that's an elimination game. Regardless of what has happened, you are either playing for your lives or you have a chance to knock the other team out. And if it's the way the season has gone so far for the Blue Jays, that's probably a road game. So that's asking a lot, I think, of Lauer for his first playoff start. One thing I have kind of talked about on different platforms and thinking about it here, I like the idea if you're going to kind of mix it and match it. I think when you look at those three guys, and we still have a lot of time to debate this, but when you look at those three guys, Bassett, Berrios, and Lauer, Berrios has the stuff that is the best fit for the bullpen. Now, Lauer's left-handed, and we just talked about how there isn't a ton of leverage out there from the left-handed side, but I feel like Berrios has the stuff that is best suited for the bullpen. Lauer maybe as well. But if you wanted to, for a game 4, have Bassett go out there, do a trip through the order, maybe 2, to see how it goes, I guess. And then Lauer, flip them around, come in as the lefty, and he does a couple of innings, or a trip through the order, or something along those lines. I think you mix and match it really well. I think Bassett just has too many pitches to be effective out of the bullpen, where Berrios, he has 1 or 2 that he can really hone in on and just toward home plate. Bassett doesn't necessarily have those. If he pitched an inning in relief, he might throw all of his pitches once. And that's not necessarily, like, it's a unique strategy, but I think if you put Bassett out there one time through the order, he is so unique in how he can attack batters, you don't really get that sense. And then, okay, maybe I've got it figured out. Now Lauer comes in, and you have to figure out an entirely new problem. And we've put our lefty-heavy lineup in because we were facing Bassett to start, and now we have to switch it all around. So I think that there's some mixing and matching that you could do with that, and then put Berrios in the bullpen. I do think that Berrios still has time to change the conversation around this. He has talked about it on radio here in Calgary this week, or last week, I guess now. He has the most to gain and probably the most to lose of any in the Blue Jays roster right now. And I think that has a lot of weight on him. Like, he could very easily, like, of the 3 guys that we just talked about for the playoff rotation, he should be the clear favorite. Like, he should be better than all of those guys. He just hasn't been. So this is an opportunity for him to work his way back into that. But I could also very easily see a world where he doesn't make the playoff roster. And that was just beyond comprehension to me a little while ago. So a lot on the line for Jose Berrios in the next little while. We also had a chat from Toxic in the Twitch chat right before we hit the we had already hit go live, but before the pre-stream video was done wrapping up. Toxic asking, I'm sure you're going to answer this, but what should the Blue Jays do with the rotation with Bieber coming off the IL? So we talked about what they should do playoff wise. Let's now kind of focus in on what this Blue Jays team could do with the starting rotation with Bieber coming back into the fold. We'll get to that in just a second, but first, help spread the news with Couch Potato Diary. Hit that share button wherever you are consuming this, however you are consuming it, whenever you are consuming it. Hit that share button and go. You have to do more after that, like share the link and all that. But if you could, that would be really, really helpful. We're getting back to the more regular schedule around these parts, which for me means a bit more irregular paycheck. And so hoping to grow a whole lot of this over the next couple of months. And if you guys could spread the word, that would help me out immensely. So the Blue Jays, we talked about what they might have to do playoff-wise. What should they do now with potential ace Shane Bieber coming back into the not even back, making his debut with the Blue Jays, coming off of the injured list after what was a very effective run through rehab assignments? I think right now the easy answer is do a 6-man rotation. I think this is one where we on the outside, we can have our thoughts on, oh, just do this. I think you have to talk to all 6 guys. Be like, hey, are you guys comfortable with an extra day's rest right now as we kind of work this thing in? I could see it both ways. We have seen guys in the past, like Hyunjin Ryu, basically turned into Sandy Koufax with an extra day's rest. But there are some other guys who like that routine, like they every 5th day, and this throws them off. And so all of a sudden now they're getting just lit up because nothing is right. And do I even throw right-handed? What's going on? So you have to make sure that everyone is comfortable with it. I think the obvious answer is just a 6-man rotation right now. I think there is also a world, given what we just talked about with Berrios, where all of a sudden it's like, oh man, Jose, sorry to hear about the elbow. It's like, no, I'm fine. No, sorry to hear about the elbow. And Berrios takes a couple weeks off and maybe tries to find that hidden velocity that has escaped him and hidden effectiveness that has escaped him. And Bieber just right in to that spot. The timing doesn't work exactly right with Bieber coming off of the start that he had in Buffalo. I believe that was Friday. Berrios pitched on Sunday, but an extra couple days to let Bieber get ready for a matchup, I think would be a pretty good way of doing it. So honestly, I know like you can't fake injuries and all of that. It's August. These guys have been going for forever. And I think we have seen enough. Like, people get put on the injured list all the time for inflammation. Oh, this guy has inflammation. You know who else does? Every human being on the planet. So you can find inflammation anywhere you want on Jose Berrios. And all right, yeah, 10-day DL, and we'll roll with it there. Toxic with a good question here. Is the 6-man rotation worth it that you get one less bullpen arm? This is where this was one of the fights I had for forever, and I accepted that I lost it. I personally think you should be able to manage a 7-person bullpen. Oh no, we've lost a bullpen arm. Fine. One of the dudes who went out there after it was 10-4 against Texas, they go down. Like, you have guys who are there specifically to pitch right before the backup catcher comes in to pitch in ball games. I think you should be able to manage. I think you should be able to manage a 6-person bullpen. I get very different, but like video games and stuff like that. But even I use them just to figure out how do I like all these things set up. And I understand humans and video games different, but I like closer, setup, righty middle reliever, lefty middle reliever, long reliever. That's it. All I need. If the long reliever could be left-handed, that would probably help me out a lot. I have accepted no one's going to do that, and all these teams want as many relief pitchers as they possibly can to be able to mix and match and do all of these things. You should be able to manage a bullpen with one less arm out there. I firmly believe the Blue Jays do not have an entire bullpen of Major League Baseball caliber arms right now. You could send one of them down. So I understand that the modern strategies are all the bullpen arms you can get. Schneider has been amazing at managing the bullpen this year. I think if you give him one less bullet in the chamber to be able to bring in a former Cy Young winner, he should be able to handle that. I'm not mocking the question. I am just mocking the general premise that we needed 10-man bullpens and all that stuff when you had like 2 pinch hitters on the bench. Absolutely hated that when that was happening before they implemented the rules that they did. But as far as the weekend goes, like, you don't love how yesterday went, but you love the battle anyway, right? And we are at a point now where like they're 5 games up and it's August 18th. Like, there's time is running out. Not saying that that they can't be caught. They have they have a series with Boston coming up that's going to be rather important down the stretch. But like I think you can take moral victories when you've already won the series. The bats were tremendous again for a couple of games, and even this last one, like, they're down 8-1. It feels like they're out of it, but then a couple hard hit balls and a bomb, and all of a sudden they're right back in it. Like, this team just does not stop, and I love that about them. So I again, the weekend, an overall positive, even though the Yankees gain a game, and the Blue Jays stay 5 games up on the Boston Red Sox. We are going to shift gears in now. So, but if you have anything you want to talk about Blue Jays wise in the chat, you can let me know, and we will bounce back to it. Or if you're watching this after, let me know your thoughts in the comments. We are streaming this one live on a few different platforms. The next live stream is going to be tomorrow at 10 a.m. Going to be back on here, hopefully talking about a Blue Jays win over Paul Skeens and the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let's move now to our NFL previews as we continue to get ready for kickoff. This week, we are kicking off our mock drafts. So not going to do those live, at least initially. I just did a bit of a test run the other day, and it kind of froze up on me. So I want to make sure I have everything up and running before we're doing that. But for the next couple, might just be plopping them in here as pre-recorded. For podcast listeners, you may not be hearing this at all because there might just be a mock draft thrown in here, so I probably don't even need to talk to you. But yeah, going to be doing mock drafts every day this week to get ready for the fantasy football season. By the way, the Fantasy Football Vampire League for Couch Potato Diary and for twitch.tv/primetime PK. That's coming back. I'm going to hit renew. I want to send messages out to everyone in the league, but that one is certainly coming back for the 2025 season. So that is what we are going to be doing here. I hope Toxic saying sweet. I hope that means that Toxic is in, but I'll be sending out messages and whatnot here very soon. So that's what's happening around these parts fantasy football wise. Time to get ready for the fantasy football season. Every year, we have a couple players come out of nowhere to surprise with fantastic, gigantic statistical seasons. And other times, we have players completely fall off the map after having gigantic statistical seasons. So, let's run through each major category in fantasy football and see who we think is going to fall off and who we think is going to jump back in for this upcoming NFL season. We would love if fantasy football stats and progression were linear. It would make things a little bit easier. Probably make it less fun, but it would certainly make it less stressful. I think today, pretty good exercise here. We're going to run through each major category, yards and touchdowns in passing, rushing, and receiving, and just talk about who I think is going to fall out of the top 5, who I think is going to enter the top 5 when it comes to those categories. The rule I made for myself is I had to pick at least 2. One of these, you'll find out very soon, I picked 3, but I had to pick at least 2 to fall out and then jump back in. So let's start with passing yards. To refresh your memories, Joe Burrow led the world in passing last year, followed by Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith, and Sam Darnold. I think if you would have guessed 1 through 5 on that list going into the season, you'd be a millionaire by now, if such parlays existed. I think 3 guys fall out of this one this year. I tried to not just have, the last 2. It did kind of end up that way for a few of these, including this one. I think Darnold falls out. We talked before about some concerns that we have about him going from basically a perfect situation to one that feels like almost the worst situation possible for him. So I think he's out. I do think Geno Smith is out. I think that we talked the other day about how he is going to a better situation with better talent around him in terms of the offensive line. In terms of the pass catchers, I don't know if it's going to be there. And in terms of the volume that he's going to be able to throw, I don't know if it's going to be there either. And I also knocked Jared Goff off of this. I have real worries with Ragnow going down with, retiring, right before training camp started. I have some real worries about what this offense is going to look like. So in terms of putting up the second most passing yards in the league, I don't think he's going to do that. So who takes their place? Well, for the easy one, it's Patrick Mahomes. Like that feels pretty safe to me, right? I mean, maybe not, because he was kind of middle of the pack, but to predict, hey, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have a good season, that feels pretty safe for me. I think that this year, the offensive line, it feels improved. I know they got, they shipped Tooney out, but from all accounts, the kid they drafted seems to be doing pretty well, and so I think that there's a bonus there. I think Travis Kelce kind of understands what he needs to do now, and if he doesn't, I think Noah Gray is going to be a bigger part of this offense. Rashee Rice is going to miss some time at some point this season, but when he is in there, I've talked about it before, I just feel like with Rice, Worthy, Brown, all these guys just fit a little better as a 1, 2, 3 instead of trying to piece together, all right, who's the number 1 here? Rice can be that guy. And so with that, I think Mahomes has a bigger year. Also, he's going to have Kareem Hunt for the entirety of the season, a pretty strong pass catching option out of the backfield instead of that dude Steele, who everyone liked for a couple of weeks. So I just feel like the whole situation is going to be better for him. Next one up, I have Jordan Love making his way into it. He probably would have been in here this year if he would have stayed healthy. This offense has more weapons than they know what to do with, and they drafted another in the first round in Golden, and everyone is gushing about this kid. You have Josh Jacobs. Pass catching has never been the majorest part of his game, but I think that's an underrated aspect. I think he is a talented player with the football. I think this offense is going to do big things this year, and I think Jordan Love could be at the center of that, and so I think the yardage totals gonna go up for this season. And the last one, I have Justin Herbert. Yes, they had the injury on the offensive line, but Joe Alt just slides to the left, and that's a very, very good fix to put that there. They bring in Keenan Allen, him with Lad McConkey, I think is an interesting kind of 1-2 punch. That they have Quentin Johnston in there as well. I think that's a bit more of a dynamic passing attack. And these guys threw the ball a lot as the season went on. First impressions tend to last in football. They started the year running it. But then they kind of realized, like, hey, our best player is Herbert. So maybe we should get the ball in his hands a little bit more. And I think Hampton is basically just the guy there right now. Najee Harris might make his way back in, but I think they're going to be looking to pass the ball a lot. So I think Herbert is going to be able to sneak in to the top 5 in passing yards. For touchdowns, it was basically the same group. Burrow, Mayfield. We also had Lamar Jackson making the appearance here. That makes sense. Jared Goff and Sam Darnold. And so again, the two that made it into this list from the last one that I had getting knocked off, I'm knocking them off again. It's Goff and Darnold. We broke down the reasons why. I have Mahomes making it back into the passing category. I think that this is going to be an improved offense this year. And I think that having Kareem Hunt as a bit of an emergency hatch is going to help them out a bit. And then the weeks that Rashee Rice is going to be there, he's a big, strong red zone target. I think he'll be good. And I think Josh Allen gets in there as well. I think that what we talked before with the breakouts or potential breakouts, I think Dalton Kincaid has a chance to really level up this year, and I think Keon Coleman has a chance to level up this year, and both those guys can be really solid red zone options. This is always going to be a bit more of a run-first team, but I do think that they are going to have a few more options to pass the football, and I think they are still going to look at trying to conserve at least a little bit of energy with Josh Allen as the season rolls on, so he's not just going to be Mike Allstott at the goal line for today's dated reference. But I think that this is going to be an offense that throws a little bit more in the red zone. Let's move now into the rushing yards. Last year's leaders, rather famously, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, and Jahmyr Gibbs. And so again, it felt lazy, but I picked the last two. Gibbs, talked about it with Goff. I think he gets hurt by it a lot with Ragnow being out at center. I think that that's going to be something that this offense has to deal with. And again, a different scheme out there as well. With Jonathan Taylor, he just got every last bit of volume as that season kind of wore on, and they just ran that guy into the ground. I think they will have at least a touch more of a balanced attack this season, and I worry a little bit about health, quite frankly. Now, I do with Saquon as well. I mean, honestly, all these guys is running back, but a little bit of a concern there for me. I have Kyren Williams. Matthew Stafford coming back to practice at the time of this recording, so hopefully the offense isn't as bad as some people were concerned about it being going into this year. The guy is a tank, and yes, Devontae Adams is there now as a pass-catching option down around the goal line, but Kyren Williams, I think, has a chance to really, I don't want to say break through, because he's broken already. He's broken through, but I think that he still has a chance at a big year. And then the other one is Chase Brown. I think that this is a guy who can really put up some major yards now. He is the only mouth to feed in that backfield. Yeah, Samaje Perine probably going to take some, and it'll be frustrating, but I just think Chase Brown, with everyone a little worried about what the Bengals can do in the passing attack, I do think that Brown is going to be able to have a couple of big moments here. So I worry about the offensive line, obviously, but I think the kid's incredibly talented, and I think he could have a very big year here for Cincinnati. For rushing touchdowns, again, some familiar faces here. Henry, Cook, Gibbs, James Cook with Buffalo, Josh Jacobs with Green Bay, and then we had a three-way tie of Hurts, Kyren, and Bijan. I took Cook and Gibbs out, kind of explained it. We did explain it already with Gibbs. With Cook, again, I think that they have a couple of red zone options that can step up a little bit more for them this year. So I don't know if it is going to be just spam him at the goal line this season. I think that they're going to use a few more options around that spot, and so I think he takes his way out of it. Coming in to this top 5, I think, for rushing touchdowns, I have Chuba Hubbard. I think that, again, Carolina's offense is going to be improved for the upcoming season, and I think Chuba Hubbard, again, basically has run of the backfield and is going to get a lot of opportunities to pound that rock in for some touchdowns. And James Conner as well. I think Arizona has a chance to be a sneaky good football team. If Marvin Harrison Jr. can progress a little bit, the defense that they made a couple of really good additions this offseason, I kind of like Arizona a little bit here. So I think James Conner is going to have a few more opportunities down at the goal line. Let's go into the receivers now, or at least we will in just a second. But first, want to remind you guys, we do have a tip jar here with Couch Potato. If you want to help support it, or just help support the treat habits of my dog and cats, including the right there, then hit the link on Twitch and Kick. It is a panel, and YouTube, there is a link in the description. Same thing goes for podcast form. Would really help us out here at Couch Potato Diaries. Again, trying to make this a more regular thing and make this a more serious thing and a bit more of a sustainable thing for me. So I understand times are what they are. Not required, not expected, but would be greatly, greatly appreciated if you could do that. Let's go into the receiving room now. The leaders for receiving yards from last season. A couple surprises in here, I'll be honest. Jamar Chase, not one of them. Justin Jefferson, obviously not one of them. Brian Thomas Jr. was third. I remember him being good last year. I don't remember that. So congratulations to him. Drake London was fourth. I basically just remember Kirk Cousins throwing a football that just wobbled in the air the whole time. So for Drake London to be able to put that up kind of makes me realize that maybe I misremember how the season went for the Atlanta Falcons. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown. That one checks out. So guys who I have coming out this year. I have Thomas Jr. coming out. That's an absurd number to put up. I don't think he's going to have a whole lot more help on the offensive side, and I think he's going to have a lot more of the attention on the offensive side this year. So I would have some concerns about him going into this year. And the other one, this is probably the hottest take of all of them, but it's Jamar Chase. I just have worries, that Cincinnati, the offensive line issues are just going to be too much for this team to overcome this year. I think also Chase Brown makes it a bit more of a well-rounded offense. And so I just don't know if all that volume and all of those opportunities are going to be there for Chase this season. So he was one that I picked to come out. Guys going in, Garrett Wilson. I think this is an incredibly talented human being as a wide receiver, and I just don't think he has had the quarterbacks to take advantage of it yet. Not saying that Justin Fields is out here being Tom Brady or anything, but Justin Fields is very good at, hey, first read, and throwing it there, or tucking tail and running. I think the offense is just going to be better in general. I think Wilson is going to be the apple of the eye of Fields this season, and so I think Wilson has a very big year. And we're staying in New York for this one as Malik Neighbors. Again, he has a significant upgrade at quarterback, and I think the sky is the limit for this kid. He is incredibly talented, and I think he has a chance to really have a monster season for the Giants. So I think he comes up into the top 5 in receiving yards. And then receiving touchdowns, again, Chase, McLaurin, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Evans, and Andrews. I took Andrews out, tight end back there. We talked about how big of a year this is for him, but I don't know. They run the ball a lot, not that they didn't last year. I have to think that Flowers and Bateman step up as receiving options again, but we will see. So maybe I'm just, the last name, whatever. But Evans is always going to be a red zone threat. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, is always going to be as well, just with how sure-handed he is. And Terry McLaurin is the other one. I think the touchdowns are still going to be there for Chase. Maybe just not as many offensive yards for him. But McLaurin is the other one who I think is going to be out. It has started very strangely in Washington this year. And I think Debo is going to get a few more red zone type of looks, being the more type of a guy. So that would be the one that I would go with there. To take their place, Justin Jefferson felt like an obvious one. I think this offense is still going to be good, and I think that young quarterback is going to look at excellent receiver a few times to put him in. So honestly, there was a bunch of guys right around the top 5, and I was just looking, I was like, oh, well, the best receiver in football is there, so I'll just throw him in. And then the other one, I'm dying on this Kincaid Hill, apparently. I think the kid's going to be good. And so again, if I think that we are going to see an uptick in the touchdowns for Josh Allen this year. They got to go to someone. And I think Kincaid, again, he was the reason why I thought Allen could have more passing touchdowns. So it makes sense to put him on this list. So those are some stat projections, I guess, for the upcoming season. What did you guys think? I can't imagine I just batted 1,000 on things that you agreed with there. So your biggest gripe, you know what? Weird Bearded Guy's got a point. Let me know in the comments or in the chat here as we continue on. Things always changing with Couch Potato Diary, but make sure you get all the updates on social media. I am at Primetime Klein, Instagram, X, TikTok, Blue Sky, Threads. I almost called it Blue Threads. I'm sure that one's coming very, very soon. So yeah, give me a follow on there. Gonna start posting a lot more content from the shows coming up in the next little while on social media as I try to be an actual, podcast and content creator instead of just, hey, I'm going live. Please watch. I'm going to actually start to post some stuff on there. So make sure you give me a follow on all platforms. Every year for the NFL, I think sometimes we can get a little bit too caught up in, okay, well, this, and then this, and what about this thing, and the schedule, and the that. So this segment, all about simplifying. Who's got the most talent? Let's figure it out. Who are the 5 most talented teams in the National Football League going into this upcoming season? The NFL provides us with a lot of opportunities to analyze and overanalyze. Sometimes it just comes down to who's got more talent than the other. And so today, we're going to go through and pick the top 5 teams with the most talent in the NFL. And we begin at number 5. I put them in initially, and I fought it, and everywhere I looked, it's like, well, no, they're better than that. No, they're better than that. No, they're better than those guys. It's the Denver Broncos. They had the best defensive EPA per play last year. Solid at basically all the skill positions. RJ Harvey getting some buzz as a rookie after they drafted him. J.K. Dobbins, I still think is something. Bo Nix is certain. I was going to say he's the worst quarterback on that list. Undecided, for one, and maybe that's giving away one of the teams on here, but he's up there with the worst quarterbacks on this list, but he is good enough to be able to get all of those out there. I think coaching-wise, I will begrudgingly admit Sean Payton is very good at it, but with a lot of teams on here, it's the defense that wins it over. When you just look at every position that they have the best DB in the game right now in Patrick Surtain. So I just look at them as one that was kind of undeniable, even though they don't have the big first-round draft picks for fantasy football on their team. Skill position-wise, it's just solid everywhere. And so I have the Denver Broncos as my number 1 team in the... my number 5 team. Number 5 most talented team in the NFL. Number 4, I have the Buffalo Bills. Maybe a bit lacking at skill position, but again, we've talked about it. I think that a breakout is coming for Keon Coleman and for Dalton Kincaid. Josh Allen is at worst the second best quarterback in the National Football League. James Cook is a really good running back, and they have a couple talented guys behind him. The offensive line is strong. Defensively, Joey Bosa isn't what he used to be, but he is like their 5th defensive line option. They have done a very good job of kind of insulating things after Milano went down with an injury a couple years ago, and it just sewered the whole defense. They have really done a good job of building depth and building veteran but still talented depth around. I like a lot of pieces on this defense. I don't love the coaching, but overall in terms of on-field talent, this is a really good football team, and so Buffalo cracks the list, coming in at number 4. Over in the YouTube chat, hi, Connor D. Hey, thanks for popping by. Sorry I missed a chat of yours a couple of weeks ago. Working with a few different kind of platforms or programs to try to figure out and make sure I can see all the chats and all the channels that we're on, and missed yours. So apologies that I missed that a couple of times ago, but happy to have you here today, and happy to see that the chat came through. Our middle team on the most talented rosters. And this is the one where I was like, well, maybe Bo Nix isn't the worst quarterback on this list. Because we don't know what J.J. McCarthy is, but we know what the rest of the Minnesota Vikings are, and they're very good. I thought going into the offseason, you have a roster that is set. This is a really good football team. Just a phenomenally coached team on the defensive side with a lot of talent. Obviously, you have best wide receiver in the world in Justin Jefferson, really strong running back in Aaron Jones. There's a lot to like about this team. Why not just bring in Sam Darnold? You know it works. You know he's comfortable there, and just roll with it. They went the opposite. They got that giant contract out, or potentially giant contract out. They're going with a rookie on a rookie deal, and because of that, they were able to spend more on what is a fantastic roster already and built a really, really strong program. And so, like, honestly, if we knew what JJ McCarthy was, and if JJ McCarthy is any semblance of what the guys who are the most behind him think he could be, this team could have made number one. That is how deep they are and how talented they are at so many different spots. I really, really, really like this Minnesota Vikings team. At number 2, Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, the wide receiver room, not exactly what you want, but this is still a team that has the best quarterback in the National Football League. And according to my list, if you want to go check it out now, the best player in the National Football League. You have a motivated legend as a tight end and a pretty good backup behind him. And I think with Rashee Rice coming back, I'm not going to talk about this all the time, but with Rashee Rice coming back, this knocking stuff over here. This wide receiver room just slots so effectively. I think they improved slightly on the offensive line, and I think defensively, it is just stud after stud at every position on the field, and they are so difficult to score against unless you're the Eagles in the Super Bowl. So I still have to put Kansas City as the number 2 most talented team in the NFL. And at number 1, we talked about how they built a championship team last year. I'm not going to go so far as to say, and they might be better this year. But this is a really damn good football team out in Philadelphia. Incredible talent. Like Jalen Hurts, probably third best quarterback on here, maybe fourth, depending on progression of a couple of guys, but definitely third best quarterback on this list right now. But perfect for this system. Saquon Barkley, second best player in the NFL, according to my list. Maybe the best wide receiver room when you look at A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. They just added Mechie as a really dangerous number 3. All reliable with Ertz at tight end. Offensive line, stupid good. Defensive line, they could rotate, like do a full hockey line change on the defensive line and still scare you. They lost Sweat at linebacker, but it's a really talented linebacking group. And then you have DBs who are picking Patrick Mahomes off for pick sixes in the Super Bowl. Like, it's just everywhere you look on this team, it's scary good. This is, I think, without a doubt, the most talented football team in the National Football League right now. They are the best built team in the National Football League right now. Love everything I am seeing with them. That's where I have them. They are the number 1 team in all the land in the National Football League. So to recap, just a couple quick honorable mentions, I guess. Green Bay was right there for me. I just couldn't get there with the defense. Wasn't quite up to snuff with the rest of these groups, although you could argue their offense has more talent than a couple of teams on here, depending on what you think of Jordan Love. Baltimore, you can obviously get pretty close to that. It's just the defense I have some concerns about. Just at a couple of spots that kind of kept them off of this list. And a couple of teams that you don't love the quarterback for. Like Pittsburgh, I think has a ton of talent everywhere. And I think they are very worthy of making this list. I think Chargers, the quarterback doesn't keep them off, but there's a couple things on defense that I don't love. Some of the losses that they had, but they were really close. Like, there are some really good teams right now. But your top 5, Denver, Buffalo, Minnesota, Kansas City, and the Philadelphia Eagles. We are going to continue with the NFL talk throughout the offseason and then full bore 5 days a week when it comes to the regular season here on Couch Potato Diary. So keep it locked. And if you just want the football talk, playlists are set up now on YouTube. We have 3 playlists going for football. We got the fantasy football preview. We have just your 2025 NFL preview and just the NFL stuff, where all the NFL content is going to live all season long. So 3 playlists for you guys to check out over on the NFL side. If you missed any of this or just want to bring Couch Potato Diary with you wherever you may go, you can check us out in podcast form. We are available on Spotify. We are also available on Apple and so many other platforms. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we're there. So if, love having everyone live in the chats. Maybe not good luck Ty, sorry, for sending in all the hey, why don't you come join this thing? But you gotta do what you gotta do, I suppose. But really appreciate everyone hanging out today. But podcasting, if, a little bit easier if you can take it with you sometime. So would greatly appreciate it if that is your preferred method, definitely check us out. Let's move into the world of Canadian football, as there was a potential Grey Cup preview on Saturday afternoon in Regina with the Riders taking on the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And it was, if that's the Grey Cup, it's going to be pretty dull, because it was a completely dominant performance from Saskatchewan. We will get to that in just a second. But first, Connor D in the chat. PK, if Chef Ramsay came for dinner and you had to cook him a meal, what are you cooking him in attempt to impress? Man, I am the most basic chef. Even just calling me chef is an insult to chefing everywhere. So that there's not a whole lot. Like, my wife will make fun of me all the time. The first time I was like, yeah, come over, I'll cook for you, was meatloaf. And like, that was like our, hey, it's Sunday dinner, let's have some meatloaf, like just a good hearty meal. I didn't realize that wasn't maybe the most exquisite thing that was out there. So, but best thing I can cook. Oh boy. Boil a mean hot dog. I don't know what it would be. That's a really good question. Maybe I will just say meatloaf, just to put that out there. I love my pulled pork that I make, so we could do it that way. But a lot of it is just like, I take the seasoning stuff and I put it in, and I've mixed up the barbecue sauce this time. So we'll go with that one. There isn't a whole lot there. Like, I like the lasagna that I make, but I don't think that Mercado down the hill here in Calgary is going to be like, oh my gosh, this guy's lasagna. Hey, you chef, yeah, we got this guy. Like, there isn't a whole lot out there. So while I certainly have the physique of someone who cooks really well, not necessarily my bag. So I would be the idiot sandwich thing at some point. That's what I would be. So there, a little offbeat answer for everyone today. Like I said, now, back to the Canadian Football League. The Riders have been up and down all season long, but they came to play in a big-time way, in a big-time game, with some major games coming up at Saskatchewan. Made a statement on Saturday. Let's talk about it. The Saskatchewan Roughriders have been a little inconsistent at times and been frustrating for the guy who writes about them. Also, I guess this would be a pretty good time to plug that if you want more of my Rider thoughts, check it out over at 3 Down Nation. I've tweeted out the link, posted it on Blue Sky Threads, and it should still be in my Instagram story for a little bit as well, if you want to check that out. So go see a few more of my thoughts on Saskatchewan's performance in that game. But this was about as complete a performance as you can get from Saskatchewan in this game. And I don't even really know where to start. I think defensively, you have to give these guys credit, because that is a really dangerous offense on the other side of the field with Hamilton, with Bo Levi Mitchell, an MLP favorite, leading the league in passing right now. They have weapons that are really, really good. Although, I think we've seen a couple of weeks in a row where Kenny Lawler has been a little bit easier to take out of things than maybe they would like, and that they don't have guys stepping up around him. At least they didn't in this game. They have at some other times as well. I guess I shouldn't really pinpoint that, but it's just been something that's like, it's a couple games now where he hasn't felt like as big of a factor as he did early on in the season. But the big thing on defense, again, for Saskatchewan, is their ability to get to the quarterback. And I guess it's technically a blitz, but they just line up with 5 D linemen across. It's like, yeah, we're coming. And in they go, and it's just havoc. They cause absolute chaos, and they are able to get there without, I guess, a traditional blitz. Like, again, you are sending an extra one, but it's just basically 5 guys lined across, and then a NFL formation behind. So you cover a lot of the holes that are out there. You don't give Bo a whole lot to work with, and he doesn't have time to let things develop because he has a lot of large men running after him very quickly. Carney with the speed rush has been great. I want to say, I haven't been able to work it in. I might just throw it in to a Rider thoughts the next time he does anything. But Shane Ray has got better and better every game he has played, and he has been so fantastic in just being an absolute S-disturber out on the football field. And he has been a game changer, I think, for Saskatchewan. Like, some of the other guys have bigger sack numbers, and make bigger impacts. But it feels like this guy is always in the quarterback's face and is always causing some problems. So I just, every week I'm more and more impressed with him. A couple other kind of nerdy things that I noticed in the game. One of the things that people have brought up to me about being frustrated with the Riders, and it's a frustration of mine as well. This defense plays pretty soft coverage. Like, they're not a soft defense. I think they're probably the hardest hitting team in the Canadian Football League. But 2nd and 8, they'll give you at least 6. It feels like they back off. They don't want anything big getting over their head. They are a defense that is going to bend and not break. And we saw it in the first part of this game where they held Hamilton to a couple of field goals there. And I think changed the dynamic of this football game. But they do tend to back off a little bit, but they had a play where it worked, and it's Thurman. It's right after McRae tried to field a punt with his shoulder pad, which it has a very low success rate, and so Hamilton has the ball in Saskatchewan, deep in Saskatchewan territory, and so the Riders, it's a bit different defending in that area, but Bo drops back, and Thurman, instead of staying in that regular linebacking zone, he's getting a lot of depth and getting back toward the goal line. And again, you do have a bit of a safety net with the goal line there, but anything in front of him, he is quick enough and good enough that he can read it, break to it, make the tackle. But he's getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And Hamilton on this play, they're not looking underneath on this. They're looking to the end zone. And as he is getting that depth, where it would be frustrating on other plays because, hey, we just gave up 6 yards and we didn't really have to because we just left the middle of the field vacated. In this situation, it closed that window so small. Bo tried to fit it in, overthrew it a little bit, boom, right into the waiting hands of Roland Milligan. And at that point, it was ball game. It was Dunsky after that. So Saskatchewan making a bit of an adjustment there, or at least showing why they do the things that they do in this game. I thought they were great. Another part that I love the receivers stepping up with Myers and with Johnson. I think Emelis, Bain, KSB, Schaefer Baker, would be considered the Riders' best receivers, 3 best receivers coming into the season, or at least have a very strong case for it. In the top 2 for sure, with Emelis and with Bain. And now you can make a case that Myers and Johnson are legitimate number 1 and 2s in this league. They have stepped up in that way. They both have big games. I like the utilization of AJ Ouellette in this one as well. I said in the Rider piece, he is, when they have all the injuries, he's probably their at worst 3rd best offensive player. So just get the ball in his hands a little bit more. This was one of the bigger volume games he had, and I think he helped bail them out in a big time way. But this was another example. When you look at all the other teams in the league, and if everyone plays at their best, who's winning that football game? It is looking more and more like Saskatchewan every week. This is 2 complete performances where they have dominated, basically pillar to post, and come up with a very, very convincing win against the number 1 and number 2 team in the CFL's East Division. Now, a couple tough tests ahead, because I think if it's not Saskatchewan, it's Calgary for most complete team in Canadian football, and that's who you got next in the Calgary Stampeders. So not an easy task there. And then after that, it's the Labor Day and then Banjo Bowl with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So you could, if the Riders go over 500 in this next stretch, September and October become a whole lot more comfortable out in the prairies if they're able to get a little bit of space there in that one. So this is a very big stretch coming up here for Saskatchewan. On the Hamilton side, it's a frustrating game. The defense got caught a little bit. They obviously had a game plan of jumping a lot of the underneath stuff, putting pressure on Trevor Harris, forcing him into quick underneath passes, and then undercutting those routes. And it worked really well right up until it didn't, when Moxie just bit hard on a double move, and Myers is gone for a 58-yard score. The thing that I didn't like for Hamilton was kicking the field goals there. And I did what all good writers should do, and I read the comments on the piece that I wrote for the writers for 3 Down. And someone was saying, because I brought up Hamilton have two trips to the red zone early in the ball game, and they kick field goals in both. And I was saying, look, I get the Riders won by 20, but this felt looking back at it, this feels like a big deal. And they were saying, I don't think 2 extra touchdowns instead of field goals and a few extra points is really going to change all that much when the Riders win by 20. And I understand that, but momentum exists. And If Saskatchewan is down 14-0 and people are still finding their seats, that takes some of the air out of it. And now all of a sudden, Saskatchewan's offensive game plan is a little bit different. And now AJ Ouellette isn't as big of a part of the game plan. And the defense can just pin their ears back and go. It just changes so much. And for Hamilton to have the advantage and then not be able to execute in the red zone was a killer in this game and something they're going to need to work on going forward. So that was the biggest game of the week in the CFL, and certainly the one that caught, obviously, the most of my attention. That is going to do it for the sportsy side of this. For podcast listeners, that is going to do it for part one of the podcast today. Still to come, we have UFC 319 talk, as we have a new champ in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and my dude is dominant. We'll talk all about Khamzat Chimaev whooping that ass, and a whole lot from the wrestling world. It's another busy weekend in professional wrestling. Yay. So we will talk about all of that, plus what we just saw at Triple Mania coming up, and whatever the chat wants to discuss. So for podcast listeners, that is going to do it for part one. Thank you guys so much. Part two is going to be coming up in just a matter of moments. For people watching on the stream, that's coming up basically right now. And now to part two, which is going to focus a whole lot on face punching. UFC 319 went down, some major performances. We'll talk about all of that. We are going to break down Triple Mania, just a couple notes from that, and we get ready for a busy weekend in professional wrestling. AEW once again walks through the forbidden door, although it feels less forbidden than ever. But WWE is still counter-programming with Heatwave that feels very cold. So a weird weekend ahead in the world of combat sports, but we are here to break it all down. As always, we are presented by Sea of Dead. Check out seaofdead403.ca for that great Calgary swag, and head over to swiftenergy.gg. We got wrestling galore to watch this weekend. Again, you're going to need that energy, so head over to swiftenergy.gg and use the code PKPRIME. Time. Let's start this second part of the stream and second part of the podcast today, looking at UFC 319. There is a new champion in the middleweight division, and he looks dominant as ever. Khamzat Chimaev with one of the most dominant performances in the history of title fights in the UFC. So what does it mean for him? What does it mean for Dricus du Plessis? Plus, what else did we see on what ended up being a pretty wild main card at UFC 319? Let's break it all down. UFC 319 is in the books, and it was one for the record books. We had a couple of knockouts that will go down in infamy based on their execution and hilarious timing. Plus, a couple interesting fights for some up-and-comers moving their way through the Ultimate Fighting Championship, and a couple disappointing losses as well. But we begin with one of the most dominant performances you will see in any fight ever, but certainly in a title fight, and certainly by the challenger, as Khamzat Chimaev is the new middleweight champ. We said in the breakdown on Friday that the most likely outcome from this fight was going to be Khamzat comes in, he gets a power bomb, and then whatever limb happens to bounce up into his grasp, he is going to take it and try to rip it off. And that is how this one is going to play out. I was kind of right. The thing I was worried about was the gas tank of Khamzat Chimaev, and how is he going to look from minutes 16 to 25, having never been in a 5-round main event before, or in a fight that has lasted more than 15 minutes. And the ones where he went 15 minutes looked a little concerning. What I didn't take into account is that powerbomb thing from how I thought he was going to win was just going to happen over and over and over again, and he was going to face about that much resistance from Dricus du Plessis in this. This was dominance in every sense of the word. Absolute dominance, absolute control by Khamzat Chimaev. Like I said before, this is one of the most impressive performances I have seen from a challenger in a really long time. Daniel Cormier brought it up. It was basically 20 to 30 seconds into every round, shot, takedown, down. And it's, I mean, we can talk about the defense of Dricus du Plessis here in a second, but it is a lightning quick shot, and it's relentless after it, right? Like, whether he's trying to turn the corner on you, whether you're slipping away with a leg and he's just sticking to you, it is just like a dog on a bone, right? That you just can't get this guy off. And then once he gets you down on the mat, complete control. I don't know if I've seen a fight where a dude gets 3 mounted crucifixes in one fight. That's a new one for me. Now, generally, if you're in that spot, that's all she wrote. But to be able to get that thrice is just insane. So the control everywhere was really, really impressive to me. I do think that you could make a touch of an argument like, hey, maybe get that guy out if you are in that much control. I don't know why it took until the 3rd crucifix to start raining elbows down on Dricus du Plessis' dome. But once he started to really land those power shots, you kind of got a sense maybe this thing is over. That wasn't necessarily the case, but it was so dominant and just such control. I was blown away by what I saw by Khamzat Chimaev. And there was a lot of people who were booing in the audience. I wasn't able to watch it live, so I don't know what the reaction was like on social media. Those fights don't bother me as much. Like, there are some where it's like the lay and pray and stuff like that, and I get really frustrated by that sort of a thing. But it was so impressive that he could do that to the champion that I was in awe of what I was seeing. I was more impressed than bored by the wrestling and the control of Khamzat. And he was still doing enough the whole time to keep you kind of captivated in what he was doing on the offensive side and to see if he could get a finish. And I think that the difference in grappling ability, and then there being a bit of a difference in striking advantage for Dricus du Plessis, made it a bit of a tricky situation for, I think it was Mark Goddard who had the reffing duties on that. Because if you stand him up, you are now, at the very least, making this a 50-50 fight and taking a guy out of a dominant position that, in theory, he worked hard for, but if nothing else, he has worked hard to maintain. And taking him out of that that bugs me. And I hated when they did it in the 4th round, but you can understand it because it's just rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. And so by the time you're getting to the 4th round and he's in side control for the 4th time, it doesn't seem like the dominant position that it was anymore. Now you need to start to do things from that. So I didn't have any issues with entertainment factor or anything like that. This was just a dominant fighter beating a champion in that way. For Dricus du Plessis, it is obviously back to the drawing board. After a run like that, where he wins the championship and then beats the 2nd best middleweight of all time, and then defends it again against the guy he took the belt from, generally, when you have had 3 successful championship fights in a row, you're going to get an immediate rematch if you lose the championship. There ain't a soul maybe Khamzat would like it again. But aside from that, there ain't a soul who is saying, hey, we need to run this fight back. Let's do that again. No one is saying that. This was about, again, if it's complete dominance on Khamzat's side, this is as beat up as I have seen a champion get in a really long time. This just doesn't happen to guys like this. So, again, thanks for the great title reign. Interesting fighter. A guy who I do appreciate. I finally kind of came to appreciate the, at least, talent that this guy has. I don't know if I'd host a podcast with the guy, but you appreciate the talent that he has, but he's going to need a couple of big fights to erase this from people's memories. And this was the type of ass-kicking that makes you wonder, what is he going to be like after this? Not that he took otherworldly amounts of damage or anything like that, because that wasn't the case, but it was so controlling. It was 25 minutes, almost 25 straight minutes of getting taken down and held down there and just getting beaten up, and nothing you can do is working. Like that, not to be glib or anything, that changes a guy. When you think you are the best in the world and then you have nothing in response, I just think that is, like, that has to mess with you mentally. I don't care that he came back to his corner 3 times smiling. That has to mess with you in the old brain hole there. So I need to see how he responds. And I think he's going to need a couple wins now to erase this one from people's memories to get him in there for another title opportunity. Tactically, as far as that goes, the one thing I didn't like is that, and again, I wouldn't be able to do it differently. It's terrifying to have that human when he does that, the little crouch and the grin at you before the fight. Like, that's a terrifying guy to then come and attack your legs immediately on a takedown, and then he's one of the best in the world at it. Like, that's hard. But he never really tried to defend the takedowns with, like, takedown defense, you know? And again, we shouldn't be expecting a conventional defense from a guy who has exactly 0% conventional offense. You would expect him to have it a little bit differently. And he kind of abandoned all technique and instead went for chaos. Instead of, like, let's try to, like, sprawl, deal with the head, do all those things. No, it's let me just try to, like, kind of run and turn this into a wah, and then I'll try to reverse it and flip you over, and now I got to choke, and oh man, now you're kind of choking me, I should let that go. Like, it was just, he was trying to defend it by turning it into the cartoon blah, 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 thing with the arms and legs coming out of it and just making it this wild whatever. And in the end, Khamzat was just calm, composed, technically brilliant, and able to just hold him down there. So, didn't love how he handled that. Had a couple of moments on the feet when they stood it back up in the 5th round. He tagged Khamzat a couple of times, and then Chimaev was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm out of here. See ya. In terms of the scorecards, I had it 50-43 for Khamzat Chimaev. They go 50-44, which that does not seem like enough. Like, I get he wasn't close to finishing this fight, but he was in dominant positions 5 times in this. I know that we don't hand out 10-8s or anything, but to me, like, in boxing, it's clear. You get a knockdown, you get the 10-8 round, right? Like, that's how that goes. To me, it has to be, like, a threat of a finish has to be there, or extended time in a dominant position. Side control, mount, those are dominant positions, and he lived there for 25. He was charging rent. He threw a wonderful barbecue there. He lived in dominant positions in 5 rounds. Like, I thought it was, I'm not going to complain because the right guy won, obviously, and this is far from the worst judging thing, probably even on the show, but you can't tell me that only one of those rounds was a 10-8 round. I don't believe that for a second. So, gonna be interesting to see what comes of this one. But a dominant, eye-opening, incredible performance for the new middleweight champion, Khamzat Chimaev. I said that DDP wasn't someone who I would host a podcast with, but who would you host a podcast with, PK? That one coming from Conrad in the Twitch chat. Obviously you, sir, having done that over at Game Over, the whole Game Over Calgary crew, absolutely, including Audie in Game Over Calgary version 1. I think there'd be a lot of people that it would be fun to host podcasts with. I would love to host one with Adnan. We had him on the show here in the early days of Couch Potato. Still one of the most watched videos we have is talking with Adnan Virk about his time in WWE and stuff. But just to be able to bounce around and all those things, I think it would be a whole lot of fun. So that is certainly one of them. But I mean, look, too many to list. Who I would host a podcast with. But yes, no, shout out to the Game Over Calgary crew and everything they did, and hopefully next year doing there. Let's move now to the co-main event of the evening as Lerone Murphy makes a statement. A lot of talk coming in. Hey, not enough people talking about this guy. This is a really talented fighter. This is a really good fighter. Got to give him some props. Got to give him an opportunity. He just needs a standout moment. Well, he got it on a spinning back elbow that is going to play in the Baba O'Reilly video, if they still play that at UFC things, in perpetuity. Aaron Pico is coming in. Lerone Murphy spins around and puts that right there, and curtains. Just picture perfect spinning back elbow from Lerone Murphy. The only thing keeping him from a title shot was a big moment against a big opponent, and he got both of those in a huge spotlight fight on Saturday night. This was really, really stunning that he was able to do this. And I thought one of the things that was impressive was how well he handled Aaron Pico's pressure, because Pico is coming forward and just looking to bang. And you also have to take into account, while you are defending this flurry that's coming at you, that it is coming at you from one of the better wrestlers of his time. So at any point while he is putting this barrage of punches on you, he can drop down for a single leg and just suplex you through the mat. That's something that could happen to you. And so to be able to handle that pressure while he is coming in, he got tagged a few times. Make no mistake about it. Like the first couple minutes of this fight, he was losing it. But once he started to understand, like, okay, this guy's coming at me, I'm going to have to deal with this. He got his composure. He landed a couple of good shots, and then he used Pico's aggression against him. Caught Pico right as he was coming in, spun around, hit it perfectly. Just the absolute perfect way to use a fighter's aggression against him. Wonderfully done by Lerone Murphy, who showed that he is an excellent, excellent striker. It's tough for Aaron Pico, because again, I think he's a high-level fighter. That's a really tough loss to come back from, because Lerone Murphy isn't the biggest name, right? But he is probably getting a title shot off of this. So that at least helps a little bit. I'll be interested to see how he comes back from this one now, because everything was going great for him. Loved the pressure early, and I wrote down in my notes, I liked this game plan from him. Like, I wish I had said, let's not mess around too much on the feet. Maybe, like, kid's been boxing his whole life, but he's a wrestler. Murphy, on the other hand, has been striking his whole life and isn't a wrestler. So, where do we have a clear advantage here? Well, let's take this thing to the ground. But I liked, because Murphy is such a skilled striker, no one really pressures him in that way. So, okay, let's see how he handles this pressure. Let's go after it. And it was working right up until it wasn't. And I think there was a couple of those exchanges that happened where, like, he is working it early, right? And it's digging shots to the body, and it's great combinations. The hand speed is there. The technique is there. He's obviously a very talented fighter. But once Murphy reared back and answered, just punched the mic. Once Murphy reared back and answered with a couple good counters on one of those exchanges, I think that had to be not that you get scared, but that has to be, okay, he's figured this part out. Like, we're not just going to blitz him and have it. Like, he hasn't figured it out, but he knows what's coming. He knows how to handle it. Maybe we should, coming in, double leg, boom, takedown, whatever. And again, Aaron Pico and his coaches have forgotten more about fighting since I started this sentence than I will ever know. But just that's something that maybe they stuck to plan A just a little bit too long when there were some signs that it wasn't working. But again, I think the kid's incredibly talented, and I'm not going to knock him too much for this one. But now it's an interesting fight coming up again for his second opportunity in the octagon. But he showed that the hand speed and the talent as a boxer that make you really excited when you consider the wrestling background that he has. Other fights from the card. Carlos Pratas, he was the one who started the spinning back elbow trend. It was hilarious that, like, this is a technique that has knocked people out 10 times in the history of the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Twice in the span of 15 minutes on this show, because just before it happened to Aaron Pico, it happened by Carlos Pratas to the dome of Gary Neal. And Pratas is now a player at 170 pounds. He's really exciting. I think getting that level of a knockout, again, on what is one of the bigger cards they've had in a while, I think that is going to put him in line to fight almost anyone he wants at 170 pounds, with a couple of exceptions. I like that he called out Leon Edwards after. I thought that was really smart of him to do that. Sign me up for that. I think that's going to be a really exciting type of a fight, and one that is going to maybe decide another challenger at 170 pounds. But Pratas just showed some really good creativity on the feet and a very high level of skill, and able to pull that off was just fantastic. So all around, excellent performance from him. For Neal, this is tough now, because like he showed, he is still good putting combinations together, but this looked like, and I'm not saying that the foundational techniques have evolved out of the sport now, but this looked like watching the evolution of the sport in one video. Neal is going out there. It is strong fundamentals. It's 1-2. We're landing good shots, and we're mixing hooks in, and we're doing this. This is a really good striking attack. And Pratas is doing spinny shit, but it's really hard leg kicks. It's really hard spinning back kicks, the head kicks, all of these things. Like, he is landing. He has the straight down the middle punches, but he complements them with some great creativity and real power in all of those creative strikes that led to a really tough night for Neal. And now it's 3 losses in his last 4. And title contention, I think, is now farther and farther away for him. So back to the drawing board for him. Michael Venom Page cruises past Jared Cannonier. MVP just so skilled and a very interesting fighter at middleweight. He looks big for middleweight. The fact that he makes welterweight is insane. But he looked big at middleweight, and anyone he is in there with is going to be a lot of fun. He won this fight basically with 3 punches. Cannonier has forward pressure, body locks, getting in on the fence, and controlling how the fight's going. And then in the first round, it's one counter right over the top that he's able to hook down and just nailed him right on the chin and just dropped him. And then in the second round, again, it's forward pressure, controlling up on the fence, Cannonier controlling where this fight is going, and then it's just like a good body shot, good shot over the head, good shot over the top, stumbles him back, and it got him into that flow. So basically 3 punches sealed the fight for this guy. That's how skilled he is. I love the counterpunching that he has, his quickness, power, his style. It's always going to be debated, but always going to be entertaining. And I think he showed really good takedown offense, battling on the fence as much as he did, keeping the fight standing, getting away from that, and getting into advantageous positions for himself. Excellent work all the way around. Brilliantly done. Had a height edge on a guy who's like a pretty big guy in Cannonier. At least I associate him with being a bigger dude. And to be able to have that size advantage, be able to just subtly move your head out of the way, be able to counter, like it all meshed together perfectly for him in this one. Cannonier, this was tough for him. He's not the most exciting fighter. It's a loss against another high-level opponent for him. I do think like he is still an interesting fighter. He's an interesting test for anyone who is on the way up to see if they are ready for that next level. He is a gatekeeper at this point in his career. We'll see how much longer he wants to do it. He just didn't do enough with the advantage that he had in the first couple of rounds. He would get in on the takedown, get in on the cage, and then just kind of hold it there. And a lot of that is good balance, good takedown defense from MVP, but he wasn't able to finish it, get the takedown, or by the 5th time, wasn't able to recognize, this guy's probably not going down. Maybe I should do anything in the clinch and get any kind of damage here or land on these breaks or something. Just take advantage of this time where I can actually reach this guy, because he was reaching a lot with his punches, leaving him vulnerable to those counterattacks. It just wasn't working on the feet. He was able to get it onto the ground, but that's because MVP slipped and fell. Now, once he got it there, he held it there, and it was really well done. But the only time he got this fight to where he wanted it to be is because the other guy made a mistake. And that's not great. So we'll see what Cannonier can do from here, but a really good performance from MVP. And then a tough setback for a guy who I'm very interested in. Kai Asakura taps out to Tim Elliott. Let's start with Elliott first. Let's celebrate the victory. That's a huge win for Elliott. Just a cagey vet showing what he could do. I don't think he is a title threat, although it's not like there's a long line of challengers right now at flyweight, right? So he's going to get a real major opportunity here. I think he's a fight away from being a fight away at this point. And I mean, good for him to be able to get that there. He was excellent on the ground. That was the story of this, right? Like, he got picked apart on the feet a little bit, but once he was able to get that takedown, it really turned the fight entirely. And it shows what the good and the bad of that unique kind of moving around style and all of that, because in the first round, he's just moving and he's shaking and whatever. And he's getting hit a lot by Asakura because nothing really threatening is coming back the other way. He's just bobbing and weaving and doing his thing, but he's not threatening at all. But once he gets that takedown, which we'll talk about in a second, and then in the second round, all of a sudden, the moving and shaking because he has the momentum. Now it's unpredictable. Now it's terrifying. And now I don't know what I'm doing with that. So that pressure gets put on and it really messes with the guy. And the fact that he was able to turn the tables of this fight by catching a head kick and getting the takedown and getting into side control is so, it's so him. Because it's just however the fight goes. Like, this was Bruce Lee, be water and just flow like water. Where it's, okay, eating the head kick. Well, I got this here already. Let's just take you down and, hey, look where I am now. Like, that's not a conventional way of doing anything or anything like that. It was just very well done. And to be able to turn it while getting kicked in the neck is so impressive to me. I was just blown away by what Tim Elliott was able to do on Saturday there against Kai Asakura. This is on the other side of it. This is a tough loss for Asakura. It's one thing to lose to the champ in your debut fight. That's going to happen. If you are a title contender, though, while I like Tim Elliott, appreciate his career, this is a fight you needed. That loss can't happen. Stand-up wise, he looked great. Obviously, there's a lot of upside there with the hands that he has, but he got worked on the ground. And then going into the second round, it was obvious he knew, and that gave him a bit of a second thought, I guess, because that forward pressure now was gone. Because he was so worried about going back to the ground that it stifled the stand-up offense as well. And when you are that good with your hands and wanting to compete at a championship level, that can't happen. You should at least be able to survive on the ground enough that you're not so worried about the takedown that your entire strategy changes. So that was eye-opening. I really didn't like that with Asakura. So the hands, phenomenal. But the ground game is really going to need to come along. Because that was worrisome to me. That was really, really concerning from Asakura on Saturday. What else did you notice from Saturday night? Let me know in the chat, or if you're watching after, let me know in the comments, or if you disagreed with anything that I said. Conrad, do you think he got caught thinking too much in the ring? 100%. Yeah. Like, when you are... there are times, I'll make the joke, you could watch him think in there. Like, he's trying to set up the best way that he can to not get taken down. And while he's doing that, he's not actually A, fighting, or B, worrying about an actual takedown that could be coming at him. Like, he is so kind of frozen in there, very much paralysis by analysis, of just trying to figure out the exact right angle, and he just couldn't get it, and that put him on the mat. And he was so worried about... Basically, he was so worried about losing, he forgot about winning. And he was so worried about getting put in that spot again that the only thing that was in his head was just don't do that again. Even though he had such an edge when he was coming forward and landing those shots on the feet. And if he was just able to effectively do that, it neutralizes a lot from Tim Elliott's game. So yes, 100%, he got caught thinking too much there. Couldn't agree with you more, Conrad, on that one. Once again, if you are watching this on YouTube or wherever, make sure you like the video, hit subscribe or follow, depending on where you are at, notification bell so you don't miss anything from Couch Potato Diary. Connor D, back in the YouTube chat. If you had to be a coach for any professional sport and you had to go 500 on the season or suffer violent consequences, what sport would you choose? Okay, interesting. Let's go through them. I think hockey, the coach, like there are little things a coach can do that can shift things a bit, but a lot of it comes down to, like, if I could coach my ass off, that goalie over there, if he just awesome, I lose. And if my team isn't great, then yeah, I'm in tough. I think that a coach can actually like do minimal, unless you're an excellent one, there isn't as much a coach can do in that one. Kind of same thing in basketball, right? Like it's, if you have the perfect scheme for your team, you can coach your way into a few there. But if I'm facing Luka Doncic and I don't have a Luka Doncic, there is but so much coaching that I can do. So I think NHL and basketball would be out. Baseball, I think there's a little bit more there that you can do to just get your team to 500 with managing bullpen, lineup optimization, stuff like that. So there is something there. But I'm going to go football because, A, if we're using the NFL, I only need to win 8 games. In baseball, I have to win 81. Like, that's a long time to get figured out, right? So in football, I think I can get there for 8. And I think football, coaching decisions actually can make probably the biggest difference in terms of going for it on 4th downs in the right territory. Being a bit more aggressive going for 2. Having the right plays for it, but being a bit more aggressive in going for 2. Proper timeout utilization. All of those things, I think you can actually get a bit more of an edge in football there. So that's what I would go with. Conrad in the chat saying soccer, CPL, Tommy Wheeldon as my assistant. Yeah, soccer, there is certainly a way, right? Like you can... if you just want to get to 500 or whatever the soccer equivalent would be with draws and everything, like even if you have a bad team, you can just kind of defensive shell. I guess you can in hockey too with a neutral zone trap and all of that. And basketball, you just dribble the air out of the ball or those sorts of things, right? But with soccer, you can do a little bit more passing it around, kind of controlling, and hey, look at that, 0-0 draw. Look what we just did, and just try to move on to the next one. So there is certainly that. Or, I mean, there are strategic ways that coaches can help in all of them. I've probably understated what a coach can do in hockey and basketball and baseball too. But I just think in football, you just see so many times where you can kind of steal an extra point here and there, and an extra first down, an extra possession here and there, manage the clock appropriately, and you can beat some bad teams in the National Football League. So that's kind of where I am at with that. But interesting question from Connor D over there in the YouTube chat. Let's move now to the world of professional wrestling. As Conrad mentioning how I just want 5-4 soccer bangers like we saw at Spruce Meadows this weekend. Yeah, I mean, that's the other way too, right? Like I just said defensive shell. You could go the other way. It's all right, you know what? Everybody, we're just going. It is. We are holding down the sprint button, and we're going that way. And if they come back and score, they come back and score. But we're gonna just all out blitz these guys 100 times, and one of them things is gonna go in, and maybe we'll win. So certainly that would be fun as well. But now let's pivot to the world of professional wrestling, and once again we have a counter-programmed weekend in pro wrestling because we get to deal with a counter program at WWE with a show that's a little lame against AEW with a concept that feels like it's kind of dying. So let's talk about a bit of an underwhelming weekend, but still a head-to-head battle nonetheless. We will start with the AEW side as they go through the Forbidden Door once again this weekend. So, we have another fun-filled weekend in professional wrestling as NXT, the mid-card, goes up against AEW with a concept that when it started was groundbreaking, and now just kind of feels like it's hit the ground. Let's take a look at AEW's Forbidden Door. When you look at it, this card is cool. Like, this is a good card, right? Like, you have Hangman against MJF, blood feud for the title at the top. Love that. Zack Sabre Jr. against Nigel McGuinness. Dream match. Love it. But you go on through, the build for this has felt like just an AEW show, right? Like, the timing of it is weird because it's coming off of the G1. So just by definition, all of the big guys in New Japan have just wrapped up the most rigorous part of their schedule with the G1 tournament. And now a week later, we're going to be going to a pay-per-view. So you're not, like, you can't even do the taped whatever and have whoever saying, all right, I'm coming for you, whatever. Because you don't want to give away anything that's happening in the G1. And so if wrestler X is all of a sudden challenging for this thing, then maybe that gives away a position or two. And they're focusing right now, focusing all their attention on the G1 and trying to mix and match that incredibly difficult math piece together. So the timing of it is very weird. And you are also doing it at a time where New Japan's popularity is about as low as it's been in a really long time. And I know that there are some very hardened New Japan supporters out there. And again, the message of this show has always been support what you like. And I love staying up at 2 a.m. watching Japanese wrestling. There are a lot of talented performers on those shows that I like, but creatively it's not at an awesome spot right now. There isn't a whole lot of buzz going on at this particular time. So like it's just it's weird timing. And then to Conrad's point, the other aspect of it, one of the reasons New Japan is in a bit of a load right now is because AEW keeps taking all the guys. Like at first, this was a really interesting concept because what was it? It was Okada coming to the States. It was Will Ospreay getting on television in North America for a pay-per-view cycle. It was those guys getting these opportunities. Now, Okada's on TV calling someone a bitch every week. Will Ospreay is here every week doing his thing until he's hurt and then not. But you know what I mean? Like these are regular contributors now, so there isn't that like, oh my gosh, sort of a thing at the top of the card right now. And like G1, the winners from AEW. So there isn't that like a New Japan guy that's like, okay, he here we go. You got this one. I do like that they've got creative with it a little bit, with a couple of dream matches, not necessarily of the like, oh my gosh, we're getting Okada Omega because these two companies can now put the matches together. It's Zack Sabre Jr. against Nigel McGuinness, just a combination you never thought you'd get for the IWGP World title. I love the utilization of Hiromu here against Kyle Fletcher for the TNT Championship. I think that's a lot of fun. And I think Hiromu is criminally underutilized right now. I, for the life of me, don't understand how Hiromu and El Desperado are not just in the heavyweight division now and letting younger stars get their thing going in the junior heavyweight ranks and breathe some desperately needed life into the heavyweight division right now in New Japan. So you have that. And then, like, honestly, coming off of the show in Mexico City, I think of the forbidden doors that you can cross into, the CMLL one is the more interesting one right now. You have MJF going over there. He took Mystico's mask again and just put the American flag over top of him. You have a lot of intriguing luchadors who were involved in that show, Grand Slam, in Mexico City. That's the dream match thing that I'm more interested in, and the stories being built that I'm more interested in than this that is happening where Tanahashi is coming over to be in a tag team match. Like that, it's just... I feel like it was awesome at first. It was an awesome concept at first. And as we have gone on, like someone at New Japan trying to cut me off. This feels just like an AEW show featuring a couple cameos from New Japan people, right? So, like, the concept doesn't do anything for me at this point. And I think if AEW is committed to this, we've talked about it before, there's a way to do this. There is a way to have CMLL and New Japan all come together in this whole thing and have this actually feel special. But it kind of involves AEW being a better teammate than they've been, quite frankly. Instead of just, okay, and we will take you, and we will take you, and we will take you. And by the way, our guy's going to go over there and win the G1. I love that he got the opportunity to go over there and do that, and I love that he is doing it. I want them to feature it heavily on AEW television now and have him be like this guy who almost like an NWO thing where he is going to come in and try to just kill New Japan and all of this, although they already have a House of Torture and all those things. But like to turn this into an actual thing and try to elevate anyone on the New Japan side to any kind of a main event status. And I think if you were to do that and have Takeshita just be this monster, like Conrad is saying, and be this dominant character, have Yota Tsuji, who I understand got hurt. Shota Umino, maybe not the time right now, but still, like, have one of those young guys be, you know what? I'm standing up for the heart and soul of New Japan, and I'm going to be the one to take that from you. I get you're the G1 winner, but you are not taking the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship with you. We are keeping that here. That is ours. The days of you, AEW, stealing from us are over. I think there's a way to do that still and have it be very effective, but like, there are so many talents in AEW that are underutilized right now. I would love for a couple of them to go to New Japan for a cycle. A couple go to CMLL for a cycle. A couple CMLL come here. Like, you can bounce around and keep everything fresh. But right now, it is very AEW heavy. And it doesn't it kind of benefits AEW because having Takeshita win is kind of neat. But then you still do things like this. And it's not like this is an AEW pay-per-view. And it's cool that Zack Sabre Jr. against Nigel McGuinness is happening. I have zero doubts of how that match is going to go. Same thing with Kyle Fletcher against Hiromu. I don't think that they built up Kyle Fletcher and had him stab a screwdriver through the leg of Dustin Rhodes to have him lose to Hiromu in England. So the concept to me, I think, has kind of run its course a little bit, unless you are going to do it dramatically differently going forward. Conrad in the chat, is ELP on the card? He is not, to the best of my knowledge right now. El Phantasmo not featured on the card. This is what we have so far according to Wikipedia. Golden Lovers, Darby Allin, Hiroshi Tanahashi, and Will Ospreay against Claudio, Mox, and Gabe Kidd of the Death Riders, and the Young Bucks. You have the Hurt Syndicate against the Eliminator Tournament winners. Okada against Swerve for the frustratingly named unified title. You have Toni Storm against Athena for the Women's World Championship. Mercedes Moné against Alex Windsor, against Persephone from CMLL, and against a Stardom rep to be determined, I suppose, for the TNT Championship. Cope and Cage against Kip Sabian and Nick Wayne in just a tag match. And then the aforementioned Kyle Fletcher against Hiromu Takahashi for the AEW TNT Championship. Zack Sabre Jr. against Nigel McGuinness for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. And Hangman Adam Page against MJF for the AEW World Championship. So we'll talk about this one throughout the week. Match-wise, like, this is going to be great still, right? Like, this is going to be a good card. And honestly, like, I feel bad shitting on it because it's again, a guy who talks about WWE also shitting on AEW. But it's been a pretty well-built card. It's just the concept that I think has kind of frustrated me a little bit now going forward. But we're going to have a lot more Forbidden Door coverage throughout the week here on Couch Potato Diary and on, it's come up a couple of times, Living Room Lariat, the new wrestling podcast from Couch Potato Diary. If you come here just for the wrestling, that is where all the wrestling content lives. It's still pieced in on Couch Potato Diary, of course, but if you don't want to sit through the football and the UFC and all that other stuff and you just want the wrestling, Living Room Lariat is where it is at. Again, you can subscribe to this one on Spotify as well as on Apple Podcasts. Not only is there the stuff from Couch Potato just over there, there's also going to be original stuff that doesn't make it onto the flagship podcast that we will still do here on the live streams. So check that out over wherever you get your podcasts. But that is but one half of the wrestling extravaganza that we get on the weekend. We'll talk NXT here in just a second. But first, Connor D in the chat on YouTube. I got one more, then I'll leave you alone. What is your opinion on the discussion of who wins a 100-meter race between Usain Bolt and Joey Chestnut if they both have to eat a hot dog before they can run? I was at a party over the weekend, and this came up. And that, it was actually pretty funny because I hadn't heard this one. It was a pretty heated debate. I think we are underestimating, like, I get Joey Chestnut can eat a hot dog faster than any human being before. When you get to be the level of athlete of a Usain Bolt, you gotta throw some stuff down. Food-wise, right? And so I don't think that Bolt is going to be out there with a fork and knife. Like, I think that he is going to be able, like, Joey Chestnut can house that in, like, 2 seconds. But I think Usain Bolt, in a 100-meter dash, where, like, his record is 9, could Joey Chestnut run that in 11? I don't know. I don't think so. So, like, I think as long as Usain Bolt can just, like, as, like, maybe not in 2 seconds, but if he can get it done in 5 or 6, then I think he gets him. Because I would assume that a Joey Chestnut post-hot dog run is going to be at around, at 13, 14 seconds that he would do that in. And in that time, the world record holder, the fastest man alive, is going to get there. So I think Usain Bolt wins. So again, the hard-hitting analysis that you came here for on Couch Potato Diary. Like I said, this is a busy weekend in wrestling as AEW has a Forbidden Door concept that isn't as strong as it used to be. NXT is countering with a Heatwave show that certainly has cooled off. This is not a Battle of the Titans or anything. This is barely a very interesting television show for NXT. But they're doing it, so we're talking about it. NXT, once again, the sacrificial lamb in the battle against AEW as they go up against a show featuring Hangman Adam Page, MJF, Nigel McGuinness's return, Hiroshi Tanahashi, maybe for the last time on an AEW program, Okada against Swerve, Tony Storm, Mercedes Moné, the return of Cope and Cage, and they are doing so with this Heatwave coming to us on the PLE for NXT. This, like, Heatwave should be, hey, this is a big Tuesday TV show for us. Put it on the CW. This is going to be, like, it's not a PLE, it's not a standalone whatever, but we're going to put this in the... You know what, we're not even going to put it in at Full Sail. We're going to hit the road with this one, and it's Heatwave, and we're doing it from blah, 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 blah. That's fine. If this is just a big tentpole television show, this is a good show. But as a standalone PLE, to hold this up against the standard of any takeover is laughable. And we have gotten so far from that point. And I get that is like 2 or 3 versions of NXT ago. But NXT used to be the brand that when they're on, you know you're getting something. You know you are getting a big wrestling show, an exciting wrestling show. You're going to get an unbelievable program. And instead now, like, nothing on this card stands out in any way. These are all definitely wrestling matches. And that's about all you can say about it. Jordan Grace against Blake Monroe. The Jordan Grace being just an absolute psychopath character is interesting to me. And so that story has been fine, but Blake Monroe has not clicked in any conceivable way or measurable way with the NXT audience. And so, okay, whatever. Like it is a story that I think is helping one more than the other, and we get a match out of it. So great. JC Jane against Masa Slamovich against Ash by Elegance for the Knockouts Championship. If JC Jane wins this, then okay, and we keep moving on with this. She has multiple belts from TNA and NXT thing. Or the TNA belt goes back to TNA and everything's fine. Like, this feels like a one-off regardless of what happens with it. And I'm not all that interested in it right now. Jada Parker, Kalani Jordan, and Lola Vice at #1 contenders match is really fun. Like, I think all 3 are very talented. Lola Vice popping up on Triple Mania on the weekend. I think there's a lot there. I think Kalani Jordan... I think a lot of her. I think she's a very, very talented performer. And Jada Parker has said some things that you don't love. She also has quite a lot of ability, has a look, all these things. Like, these are some talented humans who are going to be in this, and a good showcase for the women's division. So there's that. Hank and Tank against Dark State. I don't care. The Dark State has ramped it up by attacking people, but then they're cutting promos in the back, and one guy's entire gimmick is that he's unaware of double entendres. Like, that sucks. So this doesn't feel all that great. And then Obafemi, Javon Evans, and Trick Williams will be fun. It's a match we've seen before. And, like, if Oba loses and he's up to the main roster, then fine. But I just, like, none of this is standing out as I am so happy we are getting this. This more feels like I said, it's a TV show more than a premium live event. And it is another case where WWE right now is just flooding the zone, trying to take away from AEW. And I'm not going to say, like, I don't think it's going to affect AEW's buy rate even a little bit with Forbidden Door. And I don't think that this is going to all of a sudden mean that TKO is going to lose billions of dollars or anything like that. But it's just another time where the wrestling fan has to put up with this. And it is competition at the sacrifice of creative. And I hate that right now from WWE. They are too big to fail. And they are in a very, very good spot. But they are going out of their way to hurt themselves, and I can't, for the life of me, figure out why. So, Heatwave will happen. We will talk about it, but holy hell do I not want to. Because it's so blah. It is so blah as we get ready for that one. So I'm there about the whole thing. In the chat, Crash Andrews, PTK, how are we? I'm great, Crash. Hope you are doing well as well. Happy to have you in the chat here on a Monday as the chat link, or the live stream goes past a couple hours here. A bit of an intro to begin with, but definitely regretting not bringing my fan in here. That's for sure. I'm sure you could tell that I'm melting as the show rolls on. But we have one more segment to go. As AAA was back with their version of WrestleMania that happens, but twice or three times or four times a year. It was Triple Mania this weekend, and the WWE put it on their YouTube channel in this new era, and a lot of interesting talking points coming out of it. So, for Living Room Lariat, let's break down AAA's Triple Mania. WWE's version of Triple Mania and AAA continued on their YouTube channel with the biggest show of the AAA calendar. And a lot of interesting storylines coming out of it. Crash in the chat. Wait, WWE tripping over themselves on the race towards a payday? What? That has me concerned about the positioning of AAA. That it is just like they are just going to use NXT and AAA, maybe TNA, who knows down the road, Noah, as just different Trojan horses to throw off the competition and just to kind of be annoying in the whole thing. But Triple Mania was fun. At least they have that. Hopefully we just back off this one a little bit. Sounds like Undertaker is more involved with this. They have, like, Undertaker, I can take it or leave it on him. It is funny and has been pointed out. People hear him talk about, man, too many flips. I love realism in my wrestling. From the guy who was a zombie for most of his career. And then he was a living bike rider for a little bit. And then he was a zombie again. Who could summon lightning with his hands. But aside from that, believability. But, I mean, zombies and shit work in Lucha. So maybe there is that. Conrad, I miss the old Triple Mania. Hair versus mask matches, Aerostar botches galore. The tournaments that they would set up, like, it was forced. But I did think every once in a while, the tournament where if you won, you were done, and you lost your way down to a hair and mask match. I think that's an interesting concept that they have done. I think we are definitely going toward a hair versus mask in AEW with Mystico against MJF, although maybe he needs to keep what he's got up here for different movie things or anything like that. But I think they're going towards that. But yeah, like the blood feuds that would end in mask versus mask, those were pretty fun. I think this was a good show. I think this wasn't, like, I was entertained for most of it. The Battle Royal, you get some fun spots in there. I do like, and again, it's something we talked about, they got nothing for Omos right now. So put him out there and have him pick up a little person and throw him out of the ring. Cool. Otis, got nothing for this guy. Maybe we should change the theme music. He is out there and doing his thing. Natty, as has been pointed out, Natty, or whichever one, like Natalia, I don't want to see Natalia ever again. I want Natty. I want that. I want the GCW, the AAA, whatever. I want this stone cold ass kicker that comes out looking like she's about to kill every human being. I want that one on my WWE screen instead of the dungeon dolls or whatever we're talking about. Absolutely love it. Yeah, the low-key legend. Love it. I want that version of Natty every week on my television. I think that would be a phenomenal character development, and I think she's done a great job of doing that and building out that that character. So excellent work from her all around. So I think that there is a lot there that you can do with all of this. And so, like, when you go through this card, there was a lot there that you like. And again, I think commentary Corey Graves was awesome. I think Conan and JBL at times were a little bit too heel to also go with the traditionally heel in Corey Graves. It got a little much at times. I think JBL, when he is controlled, is one of the better color commentators out there. I think he's great. I think he built up the importance of this night very effectively. I thought that he was really good in telling the stories of a lot of these guys. And I think Conan, just adding that credibility there, was very important, very impactful as well. So I think from that standpoint, it was good. The production, like the videos, helped. I'm not a usual follower of AAA. I wish I was. There was a time, like when Fight Network had some of their stuff, it was great. They put up a bunch of their shows on YouTube, but it's tough to follow which one is which. And as not a Spanish speaker, bit difficult for me. So I try, like, I'm aware of most of these guys, but like I was entertained. The videos helped me out with the stories quite a bit. I thought they told the story with El Hijo Dr. Wagner Jr., with the family rivalry in that match. I thought that was very well done and everything there. The tag team match was wild. Kendo sticks wrapped in barbed wire, just introduced at the beginning, was cool. I will always, always, always pop for Psycho Clown. Pagano has an amazing look. Definitely walks like someone who's been in hardcore matches his entire life, but is an intriguing look for me anyway. So I love that they're a tag team and a thing. Mr. Iguana with the iguana puppet getting eaten by a demon. Fun. The fact that there's a thing that's called Nino Hamburguesa. I'm just happy that exists. So there's a lot that I really, really liked about this. I am very intrigued by what they do now with El Hijo de Vikingo. And I promise I will get that pronunciation right at some point. But, like, it is obvious that whatever frustration fans of AAA have of the WWE purchase and merger and all of that is being taken out on that guy. You know, like, other favorites of the WWE, Mr. Iguana, hasn't affected him at all. Psycho Clown, Pagano, hasn't affected him one iota, not even a little bit. And even WWE guys who are coming over, the people who are into the awful singing that Kaiser was doing as El Grande Americano, they, like, Dom is about as over can get in AAA right now. And so it's not like it has been like just anything that WWE touches. It is just the thing with that guy in particular. And he comes out with Ray and they boo. And no matter what he does, they boo. And he puts on this amazing match and they boo. Nice touch with the English announce table. I thought that was cool. But whatever they don't like about this thing is being channeled through that guy. And I know that it is because, like, they were building up this Alberto Del Rio thing, that he was the guy who was fighting to save the company from the evil everything that is happening with JBL and all of that. And then in the midst of it, WWE actually bought the thing. So that, a little too close for home on that storyline. And so I get, like, they were building this up, but, like, Alberto Del Rio, there's a lot going on with that guy, and none of it's great. So I can't imagine that just defending that one guy is enough to just, like, throw hate at this dude. But you can also understand, like, look, this is our thing. That this is, like, that you guys don't get to come in here and just change everything night one. But I can also understand from WWE's standpoint not wanting to be associated with Alberto Del Rio. Which, by the way, how much did that guy mess up? And how awful a hang is that guy that all the things he has done has led to them kicking him out of the company. He has never got another chance again. They went out, he went to a different company. They bought that one just to fire him again. But they'll bring Brock Lesnar back. Like, what has this guy done? And obviously we know what this guy's done. But, like, how awful, dreadful, all of it must it be behind the scenes? Because it's not like an infraction or two is going to keep you from being able to come out and hawk a beer on what ends up being your last appearance on a WWE show. Or to have Brock Lesnar come out and be a part of the biggest storyline of the year that you have. Those people, not great people. They're fine bringing them out there. Alberto Del Rio, every place you go to work, we will buy it just to tell you to go F yourself again. That level of hatred, like, man. But that's beside the point. I think that they are going to get to a point where you are swimming against the current with Vikingo for no reason. He has a style that is ready-made for North American television. Like, WWE was putting this on, and AEW still put out highlights of Vikingo against Omega in the match that they had on Dynamite, all those I think a couple years ago now. Like, he is so good that even the competition's like, hey, I know you guys are going to watch him on the thing, but, like, he did cool stuff with us too. Like, that's how good this guy is. And so if he's getting booed and you're going against the wind anyway, just bring him here. Bring him, like, call him up to NXT, have him run in, and have him be the one who beats Obafemi for the NXT title. Have him come up to the main roster and do whatever you want to do with him. Like, he has a style that, like, he can come to main roster WWE tomorrow and everything's going to be fine. So I get not wanting to have the WWE guy go in and beat him, and it was him against 3 WWE dudes, and they were still pissed. But I understand not wanting to do that. I almost wonder if you just, Dom, go do it, man. Like, let's see. let's see what this character is like as the main character on a show. I don't think he's ready for that on WWE programming. I don't think that he has, he has a lot of crowd support right now. There's no question. I think there's some refining that needs to be done to be the guy, but you can learn how to be the guy real quick in Mexico where everyone is behind this dude now. So honestly, that feels like an easy switch to me. It's just Vikingo. It ain't working. It hasn't clicked. The people just hate it for whatever reason. So let's just bring you to NXT where the people are going to love you. You have a style that we can put up everywhere, and it's going to be great. And maybe when we go to Mexico, maybe someday they'll forget about it and cheer you. But for now, they're not. So why mess with it? Just come over here. And we got this one guy over here who maybe we view as a bit of the future of the industry thing and stuff like that. But we don't really know yet. It's not like he's going to topple John Cena or Cody or anyone like that. So why try? Let's just bring him over to AAA. He can come in, take the belt from him for all we care, and now he is the guy. He is the leader of the new generation of AAA, and you have a name that people are familiar with in the United States and in Canada. You have a guy who is very over with the Mexican audience, and now you have something that is working in Mexico, but can also be sold to television providers in the States, and because I know they're hard up for it, make more money for TKO. So I wonder if that is the easy switch to flip here to just make it all work. So I think, again, great show. I think Vikingo is awesome. I can understand, hey, this was our thing, and you guys have just come in and meddled with it, so fuck that guy. But I personally think they're backing the wrong horse, but to each their own. But I think there's a very easy fix to this going forward. So that is going to do it for the show today. Thank you guys so much. Again, a couple hours we were hanging out. So thank you guys so much for popping in, for joining in on the chat and everything like that. The next time I am going to be live is tomorrow. We're going to be going at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Going to be back on here. We're going to be recapping whatever happened on Raw. Hopefully the Blue Jays get their poop in a group, and they'll be fine against the Pittsburgh Pirates. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more from the National Football League, plus getting ready more for NXT begrudgingly and AEW. So a lot still to come on Couch Potato Diary. Follow me on social media. I am at Primetime Klein on Instagram, X, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. Again, if you missed any of this or just want to bring Couch Potato Diary with you wherever you go, check me out on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. As always, we are presented by Sea of Dead. Head over to seaofdead403.ca. Like I've said before, even if you don't know what the Calgary Cannons are, A, learn yourself. But B, even if you don't know, look how freaking cool this hat is. Just buy a hat. That we got some great shirts. Stampede Wrestling in the an attitude sort of a theme to it. You'll pick up on it pretty quickly. So by all means, jump in and get that support. The presenting sponsor of Sea of Dead. Head over to seaofdead403.ca. Check them out right now. And if you need some energy to get through my next 2-hour stream here of just me talking about sports, head over to swiftenergy.gg and use that code PKPrimetime for the 25% off. Crash wants a hat. You can go get one. seaofdead403.ca. Tycat Johnny Banana. Hello, Tycat Johnny Banana. Apologies that we are bailing right as the show, or right as you are coming into the chat, but appreciate you saying hello. We'll be back tomorrow, 10 a.m. for Tycat Johnny Banana. CFL Power Rankings coming out tomorrow. Got some interesting decisions to make on who to put where with all of that. So some CFL content coming on tomorrow's stream at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, right here on Couch Potato Diary. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.